Today we'll take a look at another example of brute forcing credentials. I've seen this around the web. Someone suggesting to use HTTP basic authentication to protect the WordPress login form, and this is what I have set up here. It's not a very good idea, basically because you can crack both, including the one that is behind the HTTP basic authentication, and it's fairly easy to implement the attack. Okay, so we have here the page. We need to authenticate to go to the WordPress. The suggestion that I've seen did this only for the login file. It's just for demonstration purposes. It doesn't affect the real thing. Now, one of the things that we need to know is how does HTTP basic authentication works, and it's fairly easy to see. The way how HTTP basic authentication works, it basically injects, it tells the browser or the client, HTTP client, to add a header with this token right here, which is basically the username and the password encoded in base64. I have an example here, so of a decoder written in Python. As you can see, this is the username and the password right here. So for everyone that sends this token right here on the headers, the server will believe that it's already authenticated, and we can easily show how right here. So missing a G here. Okay, so it's all you have to do is crack the first authentication, and then use the token, for the second authentication. Okay, just to recap, we need to crack an authentication that it's hidden behind an initial authentication. The first one is an HTTP basic authentication. We will use hydra for that. So we can set hydra for the localhost. Say we will use an HTTP get. This will tell hydra to use an HTTP basic authentication. Then we'll say the lowercase l for a single user and an uppercase p for the pass list, and we give it a go. So we already have the first password. Now we need to inject the authentication header in the requests in order to hit the secondary authentication page. We'll use the same script I used before, with a slight modification. So we'll use the same localhost. We'll use the HTTP form post this time. We will say the location of the login page, followed by the authentication form parameters, with this low excuse for a cookie test, and the success match for the redirect that will happen when a valid credential is sent to the server. Then comes the capital H. This will tell hydra to inject this header field right here. This is basically an HTTP basic authentication header. This right here is the username and the password encoded in base64, followed by the lowercase l for a single user and the uppercase p for the password list. Now, and we give it a go. And as you can see, it's pretty basic. Protecting a web form with another authentication is useless. Okay, if you really want to protect that against brute forcing, you should use a captcha. Basically, what you're trying to do is to prevent someone to automate the brute force, and basically trying not to make the attack automated, like what you would do if you use Hydra, for example. You can use Medusa as well, and hiding it behind another authentication is basically increasing another step. But even if you choose two different passwords, which probably most of the people won't do, it is just as possible as cracking the first one, or a single login. So my recommendation: use a captcha, and your brute forcing will probably be manual, and it won't clutter your server with hundreds of requests, or you will and avoid using sketchy modules to block IP addresses, because most of people use dynamic IP addresses, which can change, and you'll basically spend the rest of your life adding rules to your firewall, where you could solve this thing with a captcha, which probably should be included in WordPress by default. But any suggestions, make them on the comments below, and see you guys in the next video.